Reduce is an incredibly versatile array method in JavaScript. While methods like map or filter are designed to create new arrays, reduce is engineered to condense an entire array of data down to a single comprehensive output value. We're going to look at two examples. One is an array of simple primitive numbers, and the second is an array of objects. Let's start with the first one. We're going to use reduce to add up all of these numbers. I'm going to create a variable called total water reserves. We'll go to our array, call the reduce method, and then here's how this works. Reduce not only takes a callback, it takes a second argument so that you can provide the initial value that it's going to build on. So let's go ahead and just block this out. I'm going to show my definition for my anonymous function, and then right after that, I'm going to put a comma. And in this case, because we are adding them all up, we're just going to start with a 0. The callback has to be done in a certain way. You need to have two arguments. One is the accumulator that keeps track of the running total, and the other represents the current value at that index in the array as it goes through. So for short, we'll call this ACC for accumulator, and then we'll use current to represent the current element. Inside the braces here, we're going to need to return the accumulator plus the current value. So what reduce will do is go through this array, look at them one at a time, start with the value 0, and add each one at a time, and this accumulator variable will keep track of that total. The result will be stored in this constant. So let's go ahead and log this. The aggregate regional water supply, and then use a placeholder here to put in total water reserves. Let's run it. And we see the total is 229. So again, we started out with 0. It went through each of these elements one at a time and added it to the accumulator. And then it produces that accumulator after it's iterated through all of the elements. Let's do a second example where we have more complex data. We have a crew manifest. We have the name, the role, and the daily calorie requirement for each of the crew. Let's calculate the total rations needed by accessing just this one property and adding up its values. Let's store our total in a constant. We'll go to our crew manifest, call reduce, and then we'll pass in our callback function and then add 0 as the starting value. Now, something you may have learned about reduce is that it is possible to leave off the second argument. However, if this array were to be empty and there was nothing here to start with, JavaScript would throw a type error and crash your program. So it's typically better to specify it even if it's 0. Okay, so let's put our parameters in place here for our callback method. We have our accumulator, and then we have each crew member, so we'll call a member. And then we will return the accumulator plus member dot daily calorie requirement, because that's the only value we're really interested in for each of the crew. Now let's log it. We'll say total vessel daily ration depletion. Let's run it. And we see 10,200 calories required by the crew every day. So that's all there is to reduce. You can use it for a lot of things, for string building and for aggregating all the properties of entire objects. But these simple examples will help you understand how they work in a very basic way, which will allow you to use them with more complexity in the future. I'm going to make a quick commit. And then we'll look at the practice. You're going to take an array of numbers and also an array of objects and use a similar process to what I just showed you to reduce everything down to a single value. That's all I've got. I will see you in the next one.